Hello, everybody. Hope you've all had a lovely weekend and made the most of the dry weather. Well, the cold still, wasn't it? Got yourselves out and got a bit of fresh air if you had a chance. So, my turn to do the assembly today. I wanted to share with you first of all because I know how much Lego means to some of the boys and girls in the school. To be honest, I like a bit of Lego myself. In fact, this Christmas, my boys both got some Lego for Christmas. My youngest got quite a bit, so I had quite a good time building Lego with him. He got some Minecraft Lego and some Mario Lego. So that was good fun. So this one here, this creation is it's based on a very famous painting called The Great Wave. And a Japanese fella, has recreated it using bits of Lego. So it caught my attention. So I took a closer look and discovered some photos of him creating this masterpiece, this Lego masterpiece. You can see him there starting to build up from a huge, great big Lego base, building up the bit that he needs for the wave. And then here he is here, so you can see he's built the waves, he's got that bit of land, and then he's doing the white tips to the waves there with the white bits of Lego. Now, his name, I'm just going to check I get it right, is Junpei Mitsui, and he's from Japan, lives in Japan, and he has probably the one of the best jobs in the world, and there's only 21 people that have this in the world. 21. So you think there's billions of people in the world, and only 21 people have the same status as what this fella here does. He is a Lego certified professional. His job is to do what he's doing there, is to build creations out of Lego. So there's 21 of them across the world, and there's 21 people that have shown that they have a real passion for Lego, and they can create things from Lego, not from an instruction, not from a box, but from using their creativity, their imagination, or something that they see that inspires them. So in this case, this famous painting, The Great Wave, of Kanagawa, I think it's pronounced. And he was the youngest person to be a Lego professional. That's his job now. So that's what he spends his time doing. Fantastic. And he was only 21 when he got into that. So for those of you out there that are into a bit of Lego, something to aspire to there. Brilliant. Okay. So you will have all, I imagine, you've been in school for a while now, have heard me say this, and you've probably heard your teacher say it as well, about managing our distractions. It's a really important skill to have when you're working in school. And it's something that adults need to do as well, whether they're working in school, whether they're working at home, or whether they're working in an office or wherever else they might be working. Managing our distractions. So a distraction is something that takes your attention away from what you want to be doing. So, for example, at the moment, I'm recording my assembly. If someone knocks on my door, which does sometimes happen when I'm recording my assembly, it distracts me. So I look over and I try and give them a bit of a signal that I'm doing something, and then I can return to creating the assembly. So that's a distraction. So there's lots of things that might be distractions, depending on where you are and what you're doing. And they're not ideal, because what they do is they avert your attention away from the thing that you want to be doing. And it really links with this, one of our learning tools, responsibility. And that says underneath, I am in charge of my own learning. So if you're a responsible learner, one of the things that often we see responsible learners are good at is managing their distractions, is being able to remain focused, ignore other things that are happening around them, and be responsible for what it is they're supposed to be doing at that time. Now, just by chance, I came across this bizarre contraption that was invented a long time ago. It looks a bit odd, doesn't it? It's called the Isolator, by Hugo Gernsback. So he was a member of the American physical society. And he invented this thing, and you put it on your head, and then you'd work, and it would help you to focus and manage your distractions, because it would block out all the noise around you, and your eyesight was just on the thing in front of you. So it was supposed to be something to help you to focus on what you want to be doing. Don't think I'm going to go down the route of buying one of those. I just think it looks a bit odd. However, we do have to deal with distractions, and I've thought about what I think are the top 5 distractions we might have to deal with whilst we're at school, or if we're learning from home, or if we're an adult and we're at work. So let's have a look. So number 1, low-level behaviour. So that's not your behaviour, that's other people's behaviour. Sometimes people around you might be doing something that's a distraction, and it might be that they're just doing things that they're supposed to be doing, and it's a bit of a distraction because maybe it's noisy, or maybe they're making a poor choice and they're becoming a distraction to you, and that can be really tricky to deal with, especially if what they're doing is really hard to ignore and is a bit annoying maybe. So I think that's one of the most, especially in a classroom when you've got lots and lots of children to do it. But if you're working from home, it might be that you've got brothers and sisters that are possibly being that type of distraction. Interruptions, right, they happen all the time, depending on where you are. Like this lady here who's trying to take a phone call and someone's interrupting her. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, because I did tell people I was doing this, that I won't be interrupted whilst I'm recording this. But it's part and parcel. It often happens. I often get a knock on my door and it'll interrupt me, which is fine because that's part of what I have to do. But you might get interruptions in what you're doing at home or at school, whether someone comes into the room you're working in, or makes some noise in the background, or disturbs you because they want to ask you a question, they want to check something. So we've got interruptions. The weather and outside. You're probably working in a room where there's a window. I've got a window behind me here. And lots of things happen. You can't control what's happening outside often. So there's lots of things going on. And the weather's one of them. So if the weather is unsettled, noisy, of interest, it can be a distraction, can't it? Plus, looking out the window is sometimes quite a nice thing to do, but it can distract you from what you want to be doing. Okay. But like heavy rain might distract you for a while. It's quite nice to sound heavy rain as well. Background noise. So in a classroom, you get lots of background noise because you have lots of other people, lots of other children, lots of adults doing different things. If you're at home, there could be lots of background noise. If you've got, if you're in home with anyone else, like your brothers and sisters or your parents, they're all doing different things, and it's not low-level behaviour because they're not doing anything on purpose, but it's just things are happening, and that can be something that distracts you easily. And then we have technology nowadays, don't we, and other resources that can distract us, especially at home. I think if you're working at home, there's things at home that could distract you quite easily, couldn't it? The TV or computers and laptops and consoles and things like that. And in school, we have those big screens, and sometimes they're really useful. So sometimes they can distract us, depending, because we might be using them for something else. Okay. So managing our distractions, all those different things, is really important. If we want to get the most out of the thing that we're doing, if we want to be pleased with the piece of work we're completing, we want to get it done in a certain amount of time, or maybe we've got a deadline and we've got to get it done for and hand it in, or we just want to have it completed and ticked off, we need to take charge. We need to manage our distractions and think of ways that we can ignore those and work to the best of our ability. So I've got some top tips for you. So if you're working from home, if you're home learning, or if you're working in school, this might be helpful for adults as well, not just for the children, because I know lots of adults at the moment are working from home as well. Let's have a look. So there's clues. So there's the first clue. So have a think. There's a clue. It's not the laptop, it's more what's on the laptop. What might that clue be? Well, it's making a list. It's checking to see what things you want to do. What do you want to achieve today? So I'm one for lists. Mr. Eardley knows this. He'll give me a list sometimes because he knows I work well if I'm organised and have a list. Here's a page from my notebook. So here's my list of things. And this is an old list, and you can see I've only crossed off a few of the bits and pieces. So maybe not my most productive day. Maybe I was distracted a lot that day. But if I have a list of things that I want to achieve and get done, it helps me to stay focused. It helps me to not get distracted by other things. If it's not on the list, I'm going to try to avoid doing it because I haven't prioritized it. So making a list is really good. So it might be a list of the things you've got, the home learning you've got to do, or the list of things you've got to achieve in school. Which bits do you need to do today? Tick them off, and it's quite nice ticking them off. I quite like ticking the things off and crossing them out because it makes me feel, yes, I've done it. I've achieved something. Number 2, right. What's that picture maybe telling you? Well, if you look at the picture here with the large sort of sand, it looks like a sandcastle, doesn't it? Some sort of building that's been moulded by this child here, and she's not looking very happy. So, and then this child's looking happy because she's got 4 smaller sandcastles. So the top tip there is to break it down into manageable chunks. If you've got a big task ahead of you, it can feel a bit, oh no, this is going to take ages. This seems like a really hard thing to do. So then break it down. If you're writing a story, okay, the first thing I'm going to do is do the title and the opening sentences. There we go. I've done that chunk. I've done that bit. I can tick that off. Great. Now I'm going to do the middle part of my story. That's another chunk. And now I'm going to have a break. Now I'm going to do the end part of my story. Have a breather. And then I'm going to check it and edit it and make sure it's as I'm happy with the finished product. So breaking things down into little chunks can help. I have to do that at school all the time. If I've got a big task, it'll be almost impossible to do some of them in one go. So I have to break it down. I do, right, if I can do this bit now and get it done, I'll feel good about that. And then I can do the next bit, maybe the next day or a little bit later on. Number 3, what might that be a clue for? Another top tip to help you manage your distractions. Well, I'm sure most of you have looked at that and thought, oh, something to do with music. So background music can be a good way to help you to focus. Now, I've learned some things about that. One, it can't be too loud, but it's just in the background. So you can hear it. You can probably pick out what type of music it is, but it's just background. So it doesn't distract you itself, but what it is, it's a nice, pleasant sound in the background to help you remain focused. We often do that in school. So we'll have some music playing in school in the background. And I read something that was quite interesting, and it said, if you're going to put background music on, don't put your favorite music on. Don't put songs on that you really like. Seems a bit odd. Why do you think that might be? Well, I think it was making the point that if you put a song on that you like, it will become a distraction because you'll start singing to it and you'll want to listen to it rather than doing what you're doing. So you want pleasant music on, but you don't want your favorite music, sing-along music on in the background necessarily, because that might become a distraction as well. So some nice calming background music might be the thing you need to manage your distractions. Next one. Okay, take a look at that picture. What do you think the top tip is? This is the one that I need to think about. Well, that's clearly somebody's workstation, isn't it? Their desk. And it's in a bit of a state. I'm not going to show you my desk, boys and girls. It's in a bit of I'm not very good at keeping my desk tidy. It's tidy at the start of the day, but quickly becomes untidy. And it's a bit embarrassing if someone comes into my office because sometimes it can look very messy. So this is one that I'm going to think about. This is the one that I think I need to do better at, especially at certain points in the day, maybe at break time, at lunchtime, and at the end of the day, I need to have a quick tidy to keep myself organized. And it's right, because all those things are a distraction. Maybe you can't find the thing that you need. Really, you just need the thing that's in front of you. So when I've been in the past home learning with my boys at home, we sat at a table and I made sure there were none of the toys and bits and pieces and things they like around. We just had a laptop and a book and a pencil, just the things that they needed in a space, so there wasn't all that distraction. And it was a nice tidy work area. Number 5. So last one, last top tip. What do you think that might be? Well, it's rewarding yourself. It's saying good job. If you've set yourself a task and you complete that task, then you should say well done to yourself. You should give yourself a pat on the back, say good job, and check with parents at home. But maybe if you break those tasks down into manageable chunks, if you get one ticked off, then you can have a break from it and do something else for a little while as a kind of well done, and then go back to it afterwards for a little while. That's a bit like what we do in school, isn't it? We have regular breaks in school, and the boys and girls working in school, I know that you're having your learning chunked out throughout the day, with regular little breaks, and every time you achieve that goal or you tick something off from your list, like I said to you, every time I cross something off from my list, even just crossing it off, that was a bit like a well done, and it made me feel good. So you should remember that. It's important to give yourself a pat on the back and say good job when you get a job done that you wanted to do. And remember, right, and this is very important as well, boys and girls. We've just talked about managing your distractions, the things around you that would distract you from doing your work. But what we also need to remember is don't be the distraction. If you're in a classroom with other children, or if you're at home and you've got your brothers and sisters, or if you've got family members trying to work as well, don't be the distraction to them either. So manage your distractions, and please, please avoid being the distraction. That's also just as important. Okay. So I hope those little things help. It might be like me. For me, the one thing I've got to work on is keeping my desk tidy. There we go. That's something for me to work on and get better at. But maybe it's the music. Maybe that might help, having a little bit of background music. Maybe making a list. Maybe that might help. Maybe that's the key to you being a bit more organized and managing your distractions and setting yourself little goals to achieve throughout the day, whether you're at home or in school. Okay. Now, I wanted to share one last thing with you before you go, because you may well have seen this already, boys and girls, but it was just astonishing. So bear with me, because I'm going to have to stop this share, and I'm going to have to share a different screen, and I'm hoping it's all going to work. So there's that. So it is the new year, it's 2021, and every year lots of people put on firework displays and shows and different bits and pieces to enjoy. And this year was a bit different because there wasn't any New Year's Eve parties as such. We just did a Zoom with some friends and family, and it was a nice way to see the new year, but not quite the same. But lots of people every year go down to London and go to see the big fireworks show. And this time you weren't allowed to do that. There's people that live in London that were probably watching it through the windows in their apartments and what have you. But they still did it. They still did the show. They still put on this huge, great big fireworks show. And something extra special this year, they used drones. And it's just amazing. So they've got, I'm not sure how many drones, but hundreds, possibly thousands of drones, which you can't see in the air. And then when the show starts, all of a sudden these drones light up, and they've been programmed to move into different places, all lit up, and create these fantastic pictures in there. So you've got fireworks and this drone show. And I'm just going to play it for you now. It's about 10 minutes. If you've seen it before, no worries, but I thought lots of you would enjoy it. I've seen it 2 or 3 times now, and I'm going to enjoy watching it again. So I'll share my screen again. Screen 1. There we go. Just make sure I'm not in the picture too much. Hope
Program contains flashes.
you enjoy it.
In the year of 2020, a new virus came our way. We knew what must be done, and so to help, we hid away. Old habits became extinct, and they made way for the new. And every simple act of kindness was now given its due.
The Nightingale Hospital, based at the Excel Exhibition Centre in London, was constructed in just 9 days.
Buildings were lit up in blue, the colour of the NHS. Take care of you. Take care of you. And I'll do the things that no one else will do. Thousands of people opened their windows and doors to applaud NHS staff who are working on the front line of this coronavirus crisis.
In residential streets across the UK, people have come onto their doorsteps to clap for carers.
Thank you, NHS heroes.
Captain Tom Moore set out to raise £1,000 for the NHS. He's raised just a little bit more than that.
He's a 99-year-old war vet. He's a one-man fundraising machine.
I'll be there with you. Oh, I said, yeah, I got enough love to do. I'll be there for you.
Thank you all very much.
from home, that teleworking phenomenon is something we all have to deal with.
Let's just join you into the meeting. Yes, I can see you. Hang on. No, you're on mute.
So many of the nurses and doctors and consultants, as well as cleaners, the helping hands guiding us through this storm, are Black, Asian, and minority ethnic.
The future holds unexposed danger, but no stress. Humankind is no stranger to progress. And as we've proven, when we collaborate, progress follows fast.
This is one voice with one message. Black Lives Matter. "2020, a year we will never forget, but we can make the new year a year of hope."
Happy New Year. Our planet is unique, a living world of diversity and wonder. It's also fragile. With a new year comes the opportunity for change. And if we act in 2021, we can make a world of
Absolutely amazing. I don't know how they did it with the drones. I'm guessing some very complicated computer program. But what a fantastic way to round off what was a very tricky year for lots of people. And a way to say thanks again to the NHS and remind people of some of those important things that happened throughout 2020. Right, boys and girls, I hope you have a fantastic rest of the week, and I shall see you soon. Bye-bye.